Hello and welcome to episode 5 of Cold Case Christmas. In this episode, we're going back to the year 2000 and the disappearance of a 16-year-old lifeguard from rural Massachusetts. This is the unsolved murder of Molly Bish. On June 27th, 2000, Maggie, Molly's mother, drove Molly to her job at Comins Pond in her hometown of Warren, Worcester County, Massachusetts. This is what Maggie did. She drove Molly to work. Now, it's interesting and very relevant that the day before Molly went missing, on June 26th, Maggie saw a mustached man in a white sedan car parked close to the beach where Molly's lifeguard post was located. She didn't see him on the day Molly disappeared, but another witness did, and this witness reports seeing a man matching a similar description to that of Maggie, Molly's mother, in the pond's parking lot just minutes before Molly and her mother arrived. A local worker in the area also reported that he saw a similar car, a white sedan, parked at a cemetery connected to the pond by a path. When Maggie drove away that day, she had no idea that she would never see her daughter alive again. Maggie only found out that Molly was missing when, several hours later, the police called her and said that there was no lifeguard on duty that day, but that Molly's belongings were found left unattended at the lifeguard station. This is where the nightmare for the Bish family began. An extensive search was carried out, and it became the largest and most expansive search for a missing person ever undertaken at that time in Massachusetts. Her case was publicised across national TV in the United States, but to no avail. Molly had just disappeared. That is until 3 years later, in May 2003, a hunter reported that he saw a blue bathing suit in the woods on Whiskey Hill in Palmer in the latter part of 2002. Now, I don't know what inspired him to talk about this bathing suit on this day to his friend Tim in May 2003. But Tim was a little concerned and he contacted the police. An intense search of the area began, and on June 9th, 2003, human bones were located, and this is only around 5 miles from her family home. Tests revealed that these bones were indeed Molly Bish. Cause of death could not be determined due to the extreme deterioration of the body. There was nothing left but bones. But it's always been presumed that Molly was murdered and her remains hidden in those woods. Now, over the years, there's been several persons of interest in this case, but there's one firm contender to this case that we need to talk about. This is someone called Frank Sumner Sr. He was a long-time resident of central Massachusetts who owned and operated several auto repair shops in the area. He was a convicted sex offender of aggravated rape and kidnapping back in 1982 after he locked a woman he'd hired to clean for him in an apartment. He choked her, threatened to kill her, and he raped her. It's very interesting that Sumner bears a close resemblance to the sketch that police made based on Maggie Bish's description of that man she'd seen hanging around the lifeguard station the day before Molly disappeared. In 2021, the DA had identified Frank Sumner as a person of interest in Molly's case. Molly's family have said publicly that they received tips about Sumner for years before he was named a person of interest. That said, Molly's sister Heather claimed that DNA evidence had failed to link Sumner to Molly's investigation. But the DA has told reporters that Sumner is still a suspect in the case. And he says, "My gut told me this was appropriate, this was clear, and it's a very persuasive evidence to name him as a person of interest in the case. And I actually call him a suspect." We don't take that lightly. We look at everyone. There's been a lot of suspects throughout the years, but the information we've got, and I can't say too much without jeopardising the investigation, it did lead us to find something. Went on to say, "I see how hard the state police detectives are working on this, and I have every faith in the world that this case can be solved." Now, any evidence that could have been collected from the scene has obviously been lost to time. It was presumed at the time that Molly had drowned, and by the time it became evident that she hadn't drowned, it was too late to go back and see what evidence could be found. The DA said there wasn't a focus on preserving that crime scene in a pristine condition. It was get the chair, go through the bag, go through her box, go through her lifeguard kit. So when I say contaminating or hurting a crime scene, it was all because of good faith and good efforts. They wanted to try and find her, and they thought she might have drowned in the water. It wasn't until later in the day that the State Police Detective Unit was notified that this may be a crime. And I think they got out there about 6 that night, and she disappeared about 10 in the morning. That said, there are items and information that the DA at this moment in time can't talk about, but there is the possibility of some things being reanalysed, and answers might come to light because of it. Earlier this year, in 2023, a new update was given in the case. State police detectives are in the process of assessing evidence that can be reanalysed, and a significant number of items of evidence that could be tested or retested are now being looked into due to new scientific developments. The DA said, "I know that the work they're doing is as good as you can get. There's people with a passion for this. That's people that want to make sure that this case can be solved." Now, there is an anonymous tip line available for anyone with information about Molly Bish's disappearance and death. And that number is 508 453 7575. Were you in the area on the 27th of June or the days preceding 2000 in Warren, Massachusetts? Did you swim in Commons Pond? Did you go there to socialise, just to hang out? Did you see anything unusual? Did you see Molly going off with anyone or being taken away? Anything at all could be useful to detectives as they go through their reanalysing process. That number again is 508 453 7575. It's time for Molly to get justice. Unfortunately, Frank Sumner died in 2016, but still it would mean everything to Molly's family and the detectives who've worked so hard on this case over the years to finally get a definitive answer on what happened to Molly Bish. Alright guys, let me know what you think about this case in the comments, and I'll see you in the next episode of Cold Case Christmas. Bye guys.
Oh no, don't fell in the ice.